Good evening, and welcome to the Fortean Slip. This is episode -7. You're either with us, or you're Krampus. Hope everybody's ready for the holiday. And hey, cannabis is not a Schedule 1 drug anymore, due to an executive order. Gotta love those executive orders. Yeah, it's been a fun week. Getting all ready for the holiday season. I've got all my stuff pretty much done. I checked the gift today, though, by chance, because when I got it, I looked at it, and I said, that doesn't look right. It looks like something's missing. But it was sealed up, so I was like, no big. But today it kind of started gnawing at me, so I opened it up, and lo and behold, none of the 6 full color maps that were supposed to come with it were there. So I had to get that one again. Yeah, so that was fun. Good times all around. But otherwise, I've been getting into my Stephen R. Donaldson book there, Fatal Revenant. I haven't been plowing through that one. I'm enjoying it. It's not that I haven't been enjoying the book. I just haven't had the time to read, or when I do, I don't get big chunks of time to. So I'm about 33% of the way through that book. And like I said, I am enjoying it. I don't know if I'm enjoying them as much as the first trilogy or even the second trilogy. It's been a bit too long since I read them, so I kind of don't. I don't know. I don't have the frame of reference for it, so. But otherwise, work, as some of you all know. So let's get into the news for this evening. Our first story of the evening from Futurism.com. Sheriff puzzled by UFOs hovering over power station. Sure, an inexplicable small-town mystery is fun. But for John Grossnickel, huh? Okay. Sheriff of Sweetwater County. What, not Steve Alcorn? Sheriff of Sweetwater County, Wyoming. This one's getting a little stale. For over a year, Sweetwater officials have been trying to get to the bottom of a series of unexplained appearances by unidentified flying objects. Alarmingly, the UFOs seem to have a peculiar interest in a local power facility, the Jim Bridger Steam Plant, which houses four coal-fired generators. We've worked with everybody, the sheriff's spokesperson said. Spokesperson Jason Moyer told the Cowboy State Daily. We've done everything we can to figure out what they are, and nobody wants to give us any answers. Sheriff Grossnickel, who began fielding the calls about the sightings 13 months ago, says he's now observed them with his own eyes. The objects are said to be lighted and drone-like and congregate together in coordinated formations. CSD reports. They're typically reported between 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. Shooting them down isn't an option as they fly thousands of feet above ground. A state investigation doesn't seem to be on the table either, as Wyoming National Guard Adjutant General Greg Porter said he doesn't think he could discuss them in open testimony, per CSD. It's like the new normal, Moore explained. It's like this phenomenon that continues to happen, but it's not causing you any, issues that we have to deal with, other than the presence of them. Officials in Sweetwater aren't alone. 7 sheriffs of nearby counties canvassed by CSD said they'd either viewed similar mystery objects or received reports about them from locals. Back in January, 3 of those sheriffs had documented sightings above energy infrastructure such as oil fields and power plants, CSD reported at the time. The strange Wyoming sightings come nearly a year after similar drone hysteria in New Jersey was seemingly put to rest. Despite a huge mystery back in late 2024, President Donald Trump claimed the drones were authorized by the Federal Aviation Administration for research. Whether the same can be said for the Wyoming UFO mystery, that's anyone's guess. Aha. Who knows? Who knows what's going on with these UFOs and drones? And it's anybody's guess at this point. That's all I gotta say. Our next story of the evening. From dailyridge.com. Hunt for Sasquatch, 10K, 5K, and 1 mile fun run in Mulberry. Join the adventure at Hunt for Sasquatch race on Saturday, February 7th, 2026, at Bone Valley ATV Park, 10427 County Road, 630 West Mulberry. This family-friendly event features a 10K, 5K, and 1 mile color run, making it fun for all ages. Check-in and day of registration open at 6 a.m. The 10K begins at 7:30 a.m., the 5K at approximately 9:30 a.m., and the 1 mile color run race start time is approximate. Doesn't give a time for the 1 mile color run. Take advantage of early registration dates until December 31st. Entry fees increase by $5 after December 31st. The last day to register online is Friday, February 6th. Oh, I guess the 1 mile is 25. And the Sasquatch Revenge and the Sasquatch Trifecta. And that's a horrible Sasquatch suit. Just going to go out on a limb and say that. Yeah. It was slim pickings for news stories this week. Slim pickings. Our final story of the evening. From thedebrief.org. Ghosts, Gods, and Monsters. U.S. Space Force unveils epic concepts for its new space weapons that aim to conjure the character of the systems. The United States Space Force has announced a new series of mission naming conventions for future space weapons, which include gods, ghosts, and even monsters from ancient mythology. Speaking to attendees at the 3rd Annual Space Power Conference in Orlando, Florida, earlier this month, Chief of Space Operations General Chance Saltzman said the new space weapons naming conventions are intended to conjure the character of the systems, the importance of their mission, and the identity of the guardians who employ them. Although other branches of the U.S. military have long-standing conventions when it comes to mission and weapon naming protocols, the comparatively new Space Force hadn't previously committed to a naming scheme since it was first established in 2019. According to General Saltzman, the branch's missions will fall into 7 categories, each with its own naming convention. For example, orbital warfare systems will be named after gods and other noteworthy figures from the Norse pantheon, while cyber warfare weapons and systems will be named after mythological entities. The other 5 mission profiles highlighted during the address include using snakes for electromagnetic warfare missions, sharks for navigation warfare, constellations for satellite communications, sentinels for missile warning systems, and ghosts for space domain awareness platforms. These include Norse pantheon representing the power and dominance of orbital warfare, mythological creatures conjuring the cunning and adaptability of cyber warfare systems, constellations reflecting the reach and enduring connection of satellite communications, and ghosts evoking the silent presence of space domain awareness, just to name a few, the Space Operations Chief explained. Sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me, but anyway. An unofficial Space Force subreddit, r Space Force, offered illustrations of the new naming conventions, and others were posted on DVids. After announcing the space weapons naming conventions, Saltzman noted that 2 spacecraft have already received new names based on their operational themes. The first is a communications satellite, initially named the Ultra High Frequency Follow-On System. Under the new system, which designates these types of space weapons by constellation names, this satellite has been renamed Ursa Major. Wasn't that just great? The Big Dipper, as you all know, part of the Ursa Major constellation, famously points to Polaris, our North Star, always linking us to our most important missions, Saltzman said of the intention behind the satellite's new name. A second space weapons system, employed by Space Force's 1st Space Operations Squadron to track satellites in high orbits, has also been renamed Bifrost, after the fiery rainbow bridge from Norse mythology connecting Asgard to Midgard, also known as Earth. Bifrost is a bridge between Earth and the realm of the gods, just as the Bifrost system in low Earth orbit bridges the divide between the Earth and the higher geostationary orbit of the other one-SOPS systems, Saltzman explained. Sounds like a bunch of malarkey to me. I'm going to stop there. They're going to name their shit after gods, ghosts, and monsters. I guess that's interesting. I don't know. Space Force. Space Force. Where are we going? Where are we going? Space Force. Yeah. Katie's here tonight. Whoa, I like the way you sit in your background tonight. Yeah, I put this one together today, and I liked it. So I was like, I have to put this one up for tonight. Definitely have to put this one up for tonight. All right, get my stuff together here. Where I'm at. Might have to actually put on my glasses for this shit. Because, getting old. Actually, it's not that. I have my contact lenses in. And when I have my contacts in, I can't read. I have to wear glasses. If I have my contact lenses out, I can read just fine. It's interesting. It's an interesting phenomenon. Anyway, I don't need my headphones anymore. It sounds like I'm in a tunnel trying to talk. I thought I would do a proper breakdown of the whole Krampus phenomenon. I had come across this, I don't know how many years ago on the Fortean slip when we started doing this shit. And when I had come across it, I was like, oh, this is the best. I mean, everything about Krampus was just, I was like, I'm in. Let's go. A couple of years ago, I think it was, I watched the Krampus movie that came out. It's more like a horror comedy. I really enjoyed it. It's got the guy in it from Severance. But if you haven't seen it, it's a cool little movie, and well worth your time. And like I said, it is kind of a horror comedy. So Philip Blair has joined us. Reminds me I forgot Krampus night this year. Yeah, I always forget about Krampus, and then this time of year comes around, Christmas, I think about it, And luckily, because I'd started doing the show late this year. I mean, I'm only on episode -7, so it's only been 7 weeks. Because I had started so late, I kind of forgot about it. And at the last minute, I was like, oh shit, I have to do something about Krampus because it's like I've done something about Krampus every year that I've done the show. And I like the topic. It's an interesting polar opposite, I guess, to Santa Claus. So, yeah, I wanted to definitely dive into that tonight. I was trying to think if there was anything else I've had going on. I did delve into a new video game, Flotsam, which I've described as like Waterworld if everybody was really cool and tried to work together. It's kind of how I would describe it. It's like a city builder. You go around, you pick people up, you build a floating city. It's kind of interesting. But I can't think of anything else that I've been diving into this week. I don't think there's been anything too major. It's been a pretty fucking boring week. Because I guess the Epstein files released. Ah, not really. Psych. What's the other news we got this week in the world of 1984 Animal Farm? Dan Bongino's stepping down. Candace and Erica Kirk spoke. That went about like I expected. Yeah. It's a weird time. It's a very, very weird time to be alive. One of the reasons why when I came back, I wanted to talk about things that are going on that aren't just the Fortean topics is because I have literally never seen it so blatantly in your face. The propaganda, the bullshit, don't believe what your lying eyes tell you. Just remember that, people. Don't believe what your lying eyes tell you. They're wrong. You can't possibly see the truth with those two eyes of yours, or one in the case of some people. Don't believe it. It's wrong. Believe what we tell you. Believe what we tell you. That's the narrative. I think back to Bill Hicks. God damn, the man was prescient. You are free to do what we tell you to do. I remember that from his special. You are free to do what we tell you to do. And that is exactly what it is now. There is and there has always been, the people in control. And I think it just became much more obvious in recent years. And it's going to get even worse than it is now. I just watched a video with, whether you like the guy or not. I've come to find his rhetoric to be pretty on point recently, and that's Colonel Douglas McGregor. And I just watched a video with him, just basically an address to the people, kind of a weird thing. And he was talking about how the country went to shit when we went off the gold standard. Back at that period of time, a one income in a household could support a household. The wife could stay at home and raise the children. And you could buy a house and a car. And now that job that, you made that money at, you now make 5 times that, but the house costs 15 times that, or 20 times that, or something like that, and the car costs 15 times that. But anyway, it's insane. Like, what has happened, and what will continue to happen? Where will it be for our children's children? They'll live in boxes. It will be like what's that movie there? Ready Player One, where all the rich people live in certain place, the other people live in the fucking slums or whatever. All those dystopian style movies slash stories. Um, what's Phillips says 1984 for sure, and Brave New World. Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of Brave New World these days. I really, really think it's more along the lines of Brave New World, where we're being shoved our shit to keep us happy, and we don't rock the boat because we've got all our fucking pills and our drugs and our fucking Netflix and our YouTube, and we can just be stupid and happy. Um, but I think they're fucking up in a lot of ways in those areas because they're not keeping us healthy. So that doesn't exactly keep us happy. Um, but I do agree with you, Philip. I think that I think it's more along the lines of Brave New World. Although after I read, and I still haven't read Brave New World. I need to. Um, I just know the everything, the stuff behind it. Um, I have read 1984 and Animal Farm, and I continually see more and more as the days go on that it's blatant. It's so blatant, and it disgusts me. It makes me angry. I wish it didn't make me as angry. I wish it more inspired me. I guess it kind of does with this, but it just makes me angry because I wonder where it'll be for my kids, and if my kids have any kids, where it'll be for them. You know. Katie says she thought COVID was peak weird. She's wrong a lot. Yeah. You're gonna see far more peak weird than COVID. I'm sure. How old are you? We got a ways to go. Uh let's see. What else did Philip says? I like an overwhelming majority of what Douglas McGregor has to say. Yeah. While I may not agree with some of these people politically, I have found, and even theologically, like a lot of these people that I listen to or that I watch, like Candace and Tucker, um, I don't agree with them with their religion. The fact that they push their religion all the time. I have to kind of tune out when they go down those roads, but I like the overwhelming message. I like truth. And if I am, what's that quote that Jimmy Dore says all the time? I can't remember who says it, but uh, I will unite with anyone to do good or something like that. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, like I find myself agreeing with these people on more things than I disagree with them on. And I can let go of the whole religion thing. Like they believe in that, that's fine. Whatever. I grew up with people that were, you know, holier than thou religious my entire life. If I can't deal with it from somebody that I don't even know, you know. So I definitely think that there is a problem that's going on, and it needs to be addressed. Um, I don't know how. it gets addressed at this point. I really don't. And that's the scary part of it. That's the part that makes me angry. Is how do you address it? You know, do you just build up your own wealth for your own family and try to save them for the future as much as you can? Or do you try to somehow save this shit storm that's been created? I don't know the answer. I am not that's above my pay grade. Smarter people than me should be figuring that shit out. I'm just a dumb son of a bitch that graduated high school. I was supposed to go to college, but I didn't. Probably should have. So, anywho, Philip says he hasn't read Brave New World either, but I've been going back to re-listen to the CBS radio production Brave New World, introduced by Aldous Huxley himself. I'd be interested to listen to that. That sounds interesting. I like shit like that. But I'm more of a, when it comes to books, I like to read them. I tried listening to a bunch of books on tape, and if the person reading them isn't right, it completely fucks it up for me. So I ditched books on tape. I get that some people like that sort of stuff, or even productions. However, I might try to go check out the new Harry Potter audiobooks. I've heard very good things because they went out and cast all the characters, like Hugh Laurie as Dumbledore. But yeah, I tend to want to read my books. I have a big thing about theater of the mind with books. And Philip got that quote: "I would unite with anybody to do right and nobody to do wrong." Frederick Douglass. Yeah, yeah. Jimmy Dore references that a lot, and Jimmy's a. I think Jimmy's a powerful force right now. I went to see him in. Oh shit! Now I have to think of the town, Northampton, Mass, and it was fucking awesome. Great show. Great show. I got to see Steph was first in the lineup. Then it was Chris Keene, who he's on his show every so often. And then it ended with Jimmy. And it was a good show. I had a good time. I Ubered to the show, Ubered back to the hotel. And it was a really good time. So I recommend it to anybody. If you have not seen Jimmy live, if he's coming to a town near you, check him out. Well worth it. He's a great comedian. He's been doing it for a long time. And guys like that, from what I've seen in my life, whether you agree with their politics or not, they know how to be funny. You know, and Jimmy's been doing it for so long that he knows how to be funny. And I had a really good time at his show, so I definitely recommend it. But yeah, so I had Chat GPT do me a write up for Krampus, because I don't have the fucking time to do the research. And you can have Chat GPT do researches for you, which I do for the show on occasion. There are certain write-ups that I do on my own, and certain stuff that I will have the fucking computer write. Like the when I did I think the good and evil, or good versus evil podcast stuff there. I wrote that out myself. You know, when I think I need to, I will. On this, I was not going to do a bunch of research on Krampus to try to write this out for tonight. That wasn't going to happen. So I'll see if I can get through this. I don't think I can do it without my glasses, though. I think it's going to be rough. So stand by, folks. I'm gonna, I'm gonna put on my glasses. All right. See if I can do this here for you all. I'm not even actually tried to clean up my area today. It's still all a disaster, as usual. So, this is what ChatGPT has to say about Krampus. I think it was pretty good. Krampus is a horned half-goat, half-demon figure from the Alpine European folklore who serves as the dark counterpart to St. Nicholas. In Central European tradition, Krampus emerges in early December to punish misbehaving children, swatting them with birch branches, leaving coal or even stuffing the worst offenders into a sack to be carried away. Meanwhile, St. Nicholas rewards the well-behaved with gifts, creating a classic good cop, bad cop duo. The contrast between the benevolent saint and the terrifying Krampus is deeply rooted in regional customs. It goes on to say, this report explores... I'm not going to read that. The exact origin of Krampus remains somewhat obscure, but folklorists suggest his roots reach back to pre-Christian Alpine traditions. He is widely thought to have been part of old pagan winter solstice rituals in the German-speaking Alps. During the longest nights of the year, fearful creatures like Krampus may have been invoked to dispel evil spirits that were believed to wander in winter's darkness. In fact, the horned, hairy appearance of Krampus, often with cloven hooves and fangs, closely resembles medieval depictions of devils, hinting at a blend of ancient pagan imagery with later Christian ideas. Some legends even cast Krampus as the son of Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld, suggesting an echo of Germanic mythology behind the figure. However, it's important to note that historical documentation of Krampus by name doesn't appear until around the 16th century, which makes direct ancient lineage hard to prove. In the Alpine villages, similar wild spirit figures have long existed. For example, masked demons called Perchten roamed during the pagan Twelfth Night Epiphany season, and these may be distant cousins of Krampus that were later folded into the Christmas-time lore. Anthropologists studying the region have found that the locals themselves acknowledge heathen pagan elements blended with Christian traditions in their winter ceremonies, believing that Krampus evolved from a pre-Christian spirit that was assimilated into the Christian devil figure. Despite these ancient connections, the name Krampus likely arose later. Etymologically, it may derive from Old High German Krampfo or Krampen, meaning hook or claw, a reference to his clawed appearance. In different Alpine regions, he goes by other names as well. For instance, in parts of Austria, he's called Klauboff, and dialectal variations like Teuf or Teufel, derived from the words for devil, are used. This variation in names underscores that Krampus is not a singular being, but a type of creature in the folklore, one of many fearsome figures that haunted winter celebrations across Central Europe. Folklorist Stephen Winnick notes that one can speak of a Krampus or even a pack of Krampuses appearing at once, much like one might refer to a group of werewolves or wild spirits. That's interesting. These figures were especially common in the Alpine regions that are today Austria, Bavaria, and neighboring areas. Variants of the Krampus tradition appear in Slovenia, northern Italy, Hungary, and beyond, wherever Germanic and Slavic cultures mingled in the mountains. In essence, by the late medieval and early modern period, the Alpine peoples kept alive a menacing winter beast folklore, even if written records of Krampus by that name only surface in the last few centuries. As Christianity spread through the Alpine regions, the wild winter rituals and frightening figures like Krampus did not vanish. Instead, they were recast within a Christian framework. Church authorities in the Middle Ages were often uneasy about these devilish traditions. Medieval church plays and festivals around December had long featured costumed devils popping out to scare the faithful or drag off sinners, and such imagery was familiar to the populace. In the case of Krampus, rather than eliminating him entirely, the folklore was adapted. He became the companion of St. Nicholas, the 4th century bishop celebrated for his generosity. By the 17th century, we see Krampus firmly paired with St. Nicholas in Central European celebrations. The logic was simple. St. Nicholas is a churchly figure of goodness who could not credibly threaten punishment, so a separate enforcer was needed to deal with the naughty children. Many cultures solved this by giving St. Nicholas a helper or alter ego who could play the disciplinarian. In German lands, for example, figures like Knecht Ruprecht, Belsnickel, or Hans Trapp filled this role in various regions. In Austria and surrounding areas, the role fell to Krampus. Thus, the once pagan shaggy demon was essentially conscripted into Christian service. He now trooped along with a saint wearing chains, said to symbolize the church's binding of the devil, and subdued to St. Nick's will. According to tradition, St. Nicholas Day is December 6th, and on its eve, the night of December 5th, known as Krampusnacht, the holy man and the fiendish Krampus visit households together. In this morality play brought to life, the saint typically gives sweets or small gifts to well-behaved children, while Krampus delivers coal, rootin bundles, birch switches, and terror to the naughty. The pairing of these two characters embodies a long-standing Alpine folkloric theme of moral contrast: virtue versus vice, reward versus punishment. One 19th century description from Austria explains that on Nicholas's feast, every child demanded a present, and every box of candies from the store came with a little Krampus doll attached, a red devil figure, as a reminder that one had better be good to receive the sweets. The Catholic Church at times attempted to ban or tame these customs. As early as the 12th century, there were church edicts discouraging the devilish Krampus celebrations. The imagery of a horned, hairy devil accompanying a saint was uncomfortably close to the satanic in Christian eyes. But the folklore proved resilient. When ecclesiastical authorities forbade parishioners from dressing as frightening creatures, people simply carried on in remote mountain villages where enforcement was lax. In practice, the church's opposition only led to a compromise. Krampus was kept, but firmly under St. Nicholas's control, and often literally chained to the saint's side in illustrations, a devil on a leash. By incorporating Krampus into the St. Nicholas narrative, communities could continue their cherished winter scare traditions with a Christian gloss. This adaptation also had a psychological benefit. St. Nicholas remained a pure figure of benevolence, while all the threatening aspects of the winter visit were offloaded to Krampus. As one observer insightfully noted, it's akin to the evil stepmother in fairy tales. Children can imagine the punishing disciplinarian as someone other than their beloved parent, or in this case, the saint. Thus, the dual visit became an annual rite. On Krampusnacht, the children might hear the rattling chains and bell clanging of Krampus approaching, and their hearts would jump into their throats. The next morning on Nicholas Day, they would either find treats left by the kindly saint, or lumps of coal and perhaps a few bruises from Krampus's switch, as evidence of the night's verdict. This folk pageant of reward and retribution has sustained itself for generations in Austria, Germany, and neighboring areas. Quick drink here. Over time, the Krampus tradition has undergone cycles of suppression and resurgence. In the Enlightenment era of the late 17th to 18th centuries, there was a push in some urban areas, notably Vienna, to use St. Nicholas and Krampus visits more deliberately for education and discipline. Some accounts from that period describe Nicholas and Krampus being invited into schools or homes to publicly quiz children on their behavior and studies, with Krampus acting as the looming threat to any child who faltered. The idea was to instill obedience and moral conduct through a healthy dose of fear. Where have we heard that before? Around the same time, folk festivals and parades featuring Krampus were common in the Alpine villages. In the 18th and early 19th century, rural communities would hold Krampuslof processions, essentially Krampus runs, where mobs of young men costumed as Krampus or related wild figures ran through the streets growling and shaking chains to startle onlookers. These events often had a rowdy, carnival-like atmosphere. Historical records indicate that authorities occasionally tried to ban such parades. Excuse me. Not only for their pagan overtones, but because they sometimes devolved into drunken riots by exuberant youth. For example, accounts from Bavaria in the 1700s describe Krampus masks and costumes appearing in Christmas season carnivals, until local officials cracked down on them for fear of public disorder. Nonetheless, the tradition persisted in the remote Alpine towns where church and state had limited reach. By the 19th century, Krampus had become a firmly entrenched character in Central European Christmas folklore. Though his popularity varied by region, in some areas of Bavaria, Tyrol, and Salzburg, only a handful of villages still practiced the Nicholas and Krampus customs by the mid-1800s. However, what Krampus may have lost in local prevalence, he gained in wider fame during this period. The late 1800s saw an explosion of Krampus-themed greeting cards, Krampuskarten, thanks to advances in color printing. From about the 1880s up to World War I, hundreds of these postcard designs were circulated across Austria, Hungary, and Germany, depicting Krampus in all manner of situations, typically chasing or capturing naughty children, but often with a humorous twist. I would love to get a hold of one of them. I bet they are very rare. Some cards showed Krampus in absurd poses, even courting young women or appearing as a temptress herself, combining menace with merriment. The cards usually bore tongue-in-cheek messages like "Greetings from Krampus" or exhortations to be good. Because these postcards were sold even in regions that didn't traditionally celebrate Krampus, they effectively spread the legend beyond its Alpine home. A British traveler in 1904 noted that in Vienna, every child knew and clamored for the Krampus dolls attached to their holiday suites, indicating how mainstream the once rustic figure had become in the city. In the 20th century, the Krampus custom faced new challenges. Political and social pressures sometimes cast the tradition as backward or harmful. Between 1934 and 1938, during Austria's brief period of fascist rule, Krampus celebrations were outright banned by the government, which viewed Krampus as a symbol of sin and anti-Christian ideals. Some accounts even say the regime linked Krampus to socialist influences. The ban was lifted later, but by the 1950s, concerns shifted to psychology. Educators and officials grew worried that scaring children with a devil might leave lasting trauma. In 1953, for instance, an Austrian school official petitioned to outlaw Krampus from schools, arguing arguing that there is too much fear in the world already. Let's begin by throwing out Krampus. Around the same time, the Austrian government's public health pamphlets labeled Krampus an evil man and warned that his visit could cause children to suffer anxiety or nightmares. These mid-century efforts to tame Krampus had some effect. In certain cities, the tradition quieted down, but they never erased it completely. The enduring cultural attachment to Krampus in the Alpine regions meant that families and local clubs kept the practice alive, especially in smaller communities and remote valleys. By the end of the 20th century and into the 21st century, Krampus experienced a remarkable revival and even globalization. Young Austrians and Bavarians formed Krampus associations to preserve and reinvent the runs, carving elaborate wooden masks and organizing well-publicized parades. What was once confined to Alpine villages is now a seasonal spectacle in cities like Salzburg and Munich, drawing tourists and media attention. With the rise of the internet and social media, images and videos of wild Krampus runs, flaming torches, ringing cowbells, and furry monsters swarming the streets have captivated audiences worldwide. As a result, the tradition has spread far beyond its original geography. Today one can find Krampus parades or festivals in North America and other parts of Europe, often organized by folklore enthusiasts. The United States, for example, held almost no Krampus events before 2000, yet now dozens of cities host annual Krampus knocks, or runs. Ironically, what once alarmed authorities is now often embraced as a fun, if edgy, cultural export. The image of Krampus has also permeated popular culture. He appears in horror films, comic books, and Halloween costumes. But the core tradition still thrives most in the Alpine heartland. In Austria and southern Germany, every December, one is as likely to find a chocolate Krampus as a chocolate Santa in the shops. And children continue to nervously anticipate that terrifying hoofbeat on the doorstep of Krampusnacht. Hold on just a second. See how much more of this we got here. Krampus embodies the dark shadow of the holiday season, a symbol of punishment to balance the rewards of St. Nicholas. In the folklore of Central Europe, this horned creature's role is explicitly moral. He personifies the consequences of misbehavior. The duality of St. Nicholas and Krampus can be seen as a vivid lesson plan in right and wrong. St. Nick's benevolent figure represents charity, kindness, and the rewards of goodness, whereas Krampus with his chains and birch switches represents justice, fear, and the wages of naughtiness. Folklorists note that this good versus evil pairing is a common motif, essentially a dramatization of the carrot and stick approach to child rearing. In fact, Krampus literally carries a stick and is not afraid to use it. His menacing appearance, hairy body, goat horns, lolling tongue, sometimes one cloven hoof, is deliberately crafted to scare children into obedience. Yet in most cases, the punishment is more threat than reality. As one folklore expert explains, Krampus's true power lies in the idea of punishment. The legend and the costume are scary enough that children believe he could snatch them away, and that belief alone usually ensures they behave. In this way, Krampus functions as a classic boogeyman used for social control. Parents for centuries have found utility in telling kids, "Be good, or the Krampus will get you," a warning that externalizes discipline to a mythical figure. Folklore scholars and anthropologists have often interpreted Krampus and similar wild man figures as vestiges of ancient methods of enforcing community norms. Phyllis Seifger, for example, in her study of Santa Claus traditions, viewed characters like Krampus as inheritors of the European wild man archetype, primal, beastly enforcers of moral order, who survived in folk celebrations, even as official religion frowned on them. By scaring children and occasionally adults, these figures kept social deviance in check through terror. There is also a component of communal reinforcement. When Krampus visits a home accompanied by the respected figure of St. Nicholas, it's as if the entire community, from church to parent to supernatural enforcer, has agreed on what behaviors are unacceptable. The child not only fears the monster, but also intuits the message that everyone is united in expecting their good conduct. In the past, when daily life was harsher, using fearsome folklore to encourage obedience was common. Krampus was essentially a teaching tool, a way to make abstract morality visceral and unforgettable for youngsters. Even school teachers leveraged the Krampus legend. Reports from 18th century Austria describe Nicholas and Krampus visiting classrooms so that lessons about behaving were delivered with theatrical flair. The symbolism of Krampus's accoutrements also underscores a moral and religious narrative. The chains he thrashes are said to represent the binding of the devil by the Christian Church. Even as he rattles them fiercely, he is technically restrained. The birch rods hark back to a pagan initiation rites or witch besoms, but in Christian folk use they simply mean corporal punishment for wrongdoing. In some depictions, Krampus carries a sack or wash tub on his back, evoking the threat of being carted off to hell or drowned if one's misdeeds are great enough. These grim accessories reinforce the idea that justice will be swift and merciless for the wicked. From an anthropological perspective, Krampus and his kin also serve as a safety valve for society. They allow for the expression of fears and aggression in a ritualized manner that ultimately reaffirms the social order. By outsourcing punishment to a mythical demon, communities could preserve harmony. The real authority figures, parents, priests, or the saintly Nicholas, remain unblemished good guys, while Krampus absorbs the community's anxieties and anger towards rule breakers. In this sense, Krampus is a cultural tool that helped pre-modern societies instill discipline without constant overt oppression. The myth does the dirty work. As one Austrian commentator noted, children might be absolutely terrified of Krampus in the moment, trembling for days after a close encounter. But the community viewed this as a tolerable fright if it molded kids into respectful, well-behaved members of society. I think this is something we've seen, over and over and over. I mean, it's stories to stories of something out in the woods to keep the kids out of the woods. Whatever. There's an M. Night Shyamalan movie which people make fun of, but I thought the idea behind it was brilliant. It was The Village, and it's the people that try to go out into the woods and live like it's fucking yesteryear, and to keep the kids in, they tell them that there's, spoiler alert, that there's monsters outside, but the monsters are really just, them in costumes. I've thought that that idea is brilliant. I thought that The Village was executed piss poorly in a lot of ways. But the idea behind it was fucking brilliant. I mean, people of today who wanted to go out into the woods and just live like, it was forever ago with no technology and just raise their kids and live their lives. And I thought that the idea of, sheltering them from this society and keeping them out there by way of this monster that lives out in the woods. It's great. Like I said, not greatly executed in that movie, but great. Um and I think these morality plays, these morality stories, they go on and on and on. Um we've seen them over and over and over again. And Krampus is just another one. Um but you know, now it's kind of blown up. Krampus, I think, is becoming pretty fucking popular. So we'll see where that leads. Another 100 or so years, maybe Krampus is the fucking dude. You know, Santa's his sidekick. Oh, it gets weird in this world. It gets really weird. Jeez, Philip, you've been like just going at it. What else have we got in here? Oh yeah, Farmer Fred. Always see Farmer Fred. Always see Farmer Fred every week. And Phil, another interesting show. How much of it did you catch, Phil? That's my question for you. In all honesty, how much of it did you catch? That's what I want to know. But yeah, the Krampus Saint Nick story. It is good shit. Good shit. The last 2 minutes. That's what I figured. It's been pretty light, this show. Everybody must be busy this weekend with their, holiday shit. Which is what I imagine. I mean, it's that time of year. Everybody's going to get together with their families and exchange their gifts, do their Yankee swaps, all that fucking happy horse shit. We do what we can. Make everything fucking work. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's okay too. But I hope everybody is having a wonderful holiday season. I know it's been interesting this year. That's all I'll say. It's been an interesting one. We'll see where it goes from here and how we go into 2026. I'm not far out from having my dentures put in, so I can actually show them to you guys. Stand by. You have these things somewhere here. There they are. Yep. Yeah. The old top set right there. In the bag. And there's the bottom set right there. Partial. Yeah, good stuff. Picked those up the other day. And I go in the 12th to have all my teeth removed. Well, the top teeth all removed. And they put them right in. And then I go back in on the 13th to see the denturist, and they check them out. They check it all out, take them out for the first time. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm excited. I'm not excited that I let my teeth go for as long as I did. I wished I'd taken care of them a lot sooner, but I got kind of depressed about it, and something got said to me at one point that kind of threw me for a loop, and I just wouldn't go back to the dentist after that. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes with these. I'm gonna try to do a show that week. I'm gonna try. It's gonna be interesting to see how I am able to talk that week. I'm sure it's not going to be fun. But I've always tried to be very, you know, very honest and forthcoming with everybody with this show. And this is just part of what's going on with me. So I say, fuck it. Let's do it. I'll try to fucking read the news with those fucking things in. Let's go. You know, it'll be a fucking hoot. You know, you think Steve fucked up the news. You wait until you see me with my new teeth in. It'll be a fucking good time. I recommend everybody tune in live for those shows. You will not want to miss that. And I will work hard to get my mouth working properly, I can tell you that. I've already looked into things that I can do to try to get things back in order and, not sound like an old man. But I mean, it is what it is. I let him go, and I shouldn't have. I had an opportunity at one point, and I should have taken it, and I probably wouldn't. I would either have just a partial up top, or I might have been able at that point in time to fix everything that was up there, but I let it go. So it is what it is. And therefore I get a nice big full top denture right there. $4,000 those things cost me. A little over $4,000. Not much, but a little. And I paid the second half of it the other day. Then I go in, like I said, the 12th. I gotta pay for all those, the teeth that all come out. But I think it'll be all right. I think it'll work out good. But like I said, that first show afterwards, I recommend everybody tune in. Because it's gonna be a hoot to watch me try to fucking talk. And I will attempt it. I will sit there and I'll attempt it. I'm a good boy. I can fucking play. I'll roll the dice. We'll see how this fucking plays out. I'll be whistling Dixie with every fucking S. Phil, I want to see them pop out. I mean, I don't know at that point in time if they would. I think they may adjust them that week. So, I don't know. Because I go in the day after. But the swelling goes down. So it'll be interesting to see how it is. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to fucking see how much of a jackass I can look like trying to talk. Because to me, that's the fun part of it. Like, what the fuck? Why not? I'm not, in and of that, I'm not embarrassed by it. Because I know what it is. At the end of it, I'm going to have some new teeth. I'll probably be able to talk okay. I mean, I heard Steve after he got his. It took him a little while. But after a little while, he sounded like Steve. A little bit different. That's it. He figured it out after a little while, so I'm sure I will too. So, but on that note, I am going to wrap this here little show up. I do not have a clue what I'm going to do next week. I don't have a clue. I had Krampus on here for on the slate. I had the death show. I've already done a Bigfoot show. I don't know. Yeah, I'll try to. Maybe I'll see what we got out of the topics du jour. Find a time travel show. Do something different. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about, our Lord and Savior Bigfoot as he saved Dr. Johnson. I don't know. We'll find something to talk about. There's so many fucking topics in this strange world of Fortean bullshit that we live in. I'm sure I can find something. Something different. Or maybe something old that we've already gone over before. In a new light. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, have a merry fucking Christmas. And I will see you next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll find a topic. We'll get there. Enjoy me while my teeth are still normal. Until next time. See ya!